Nintendo, the juggernaut of gaming, has a lot of IP under their belt, spanning a myriad of genres, art styles, and stories. These games have been a part of many of our upbringings and have served as a means to escape into fantastical worlds full of vibrant, lovable characters and incredibly intuitive gameplay. Nintendo excels at that, creating gaming icons recognizable by nearly everyone anywhere in the world. Icons who have made an incalculable number of happy childhood memories. Memories and fond feelings that we carry with us as we get older, that we can't wait to share with the younger generations, that we continue to chase in other media today. But nobody really does it like Nintendo. Sure, you can have your grievances about how they handle certain things, their copyright, emulation and game preservation, competitive Smash Bros, their hardware, and so on, but you cannot deny the quality of their games. The reason why many of us have those grievances is because we love their games so much and want to share that love and make sure it persists for years to come. They have made such memorable and timeless games, but it is safe to assume that they are not all treated equally, which is to be expected. Your A-listers like Mario, Animal Crossing, and Legend of Zelda are in the spotlight much more than others. Your B-listers like Metroid, Kirby, Fire Emblem, and maybe Pikmin are in the spotlight more than a lot of others as well. It doesn't necessarily mean there is a disparity of quality between the games in these tiers, of course not. It's just that sales numbers, public appeal, audience feedback, and relevancy can dictate heavily if a game series continues. It's much less risky to pour a bunch of money into a new Mario game than it is a new Star Fox game, for example. Mario is a household name, of course it will sell, and of course the series will continue. That's just the way these things go. So sometimes, diamonds can get lost in the rough, and a lot of IP can get undeservedly neglected by Nintendo. For today, I'd like to focus on one of those intellectual properties, a diamond in the rough that has unfortunately been left to the wayside, but deserves to make a comeback. One that has left quite the profound impact on me since my introduction to it. So, we can discuss which Nintendo property is actually the most neglected, but it would be 1, a very depressing, and 2, unnecessary conversation. It would be like Kid Icarus, F-Zero, Star Fox, Earthbound, etc., all weirdly flexing each other's trauma in a competition to see who had it the worst. But let's be real, these guys are all getting served crumbs at Nintendo's dinner table. They've all had it rough. It's not a competition, guys. It could be worse. They could be like ice climbers, who were locked outside the house. Although, I cannot recall a single time I've heard someone campaigning for another Ice Climbers game. Gun to my head, I'm cooked. I like to categorize these Nintendo IPs as in the guy from Smash Bros. Zone, where their most prominent and well-known video game appearance is in Smash Bros. And the only reason why their games are still somewhat at all relevant is because they're in Smash. For this video, I'd like to focus on Kid Icarus, which honestly, among the rest of the games I just mentioned, might not be the most neglected Nintendo IP, but it is most definitely up there, or down there, I guess would be more accurate. So, welcome back to the channel, or if this is your first time here, welcome. Thanks for your time, and please be sure to like and subscribe if you are enjoying the content. Let's get into it. I imagine many of you guys were introduced to Kid Icarus through Pit's introduction in the Smash Bros. Series with the release of Super Smash Bros. Brawl in 2008. I was quite young playing Brawl for the first time, and I had literally zero clue who this angel kid was and where he came from. He was one of my favorites to play in the Subspace Emissary though, which was Brawl's campaign mode. I later came to find that he was from a game series called Kid Icarus, which saw its first release in Japan in 1986 for the Famicom Disk System. The game then had a Europe and North American release for the NES the following year. It was quite the simple game. It was a 2D platformer Metroid style game where you played as Pit on a mission to free your goddess of light, Palutena, from the evil clutches of the goddess of darkness, Medusa. The game is set in 3 unique worlds, being the Underworld, Overworld, and Skyworld. You start out in the Underworld equipped with a bow, which was gifted to you by Palutena, as you are her last hope of rescue. As Pit, you work your way through the Underworld, Overworld, and Skyworld, along the way collecting the 3 sacred treasures, which will help you in the final fight with Medusa. Now, you might be wondering how this all happened in the first place. Well, you see, let us go back to the distant past, to an age when the gods and man lived together in harmony. There was once a kingdom called Angel Land. This kingdom was ruled by 2 beautiful goddesses, Palutena, who administered light, and Medusa, who ruled darkness. Palutena lived in the palace in the sky, and administered light so that man could live in happiness. And bathed in this light, man grew food and lived in peace. However, Medusa, the goddess of darkness, was different. Medusa hated mankind. She took great pleasure in drying up the crops that man took great pains to grow, and turning people into stone statues. In her anger, Palutena changed Medusa into an ugly monster and banished her into the deep, dark underworld. For being changed into this ugly monster and forced to live in the underworld, Medusa promised to take over the palace in the sky where Palutena lived. So great was Medusa's anger that she joined forces with the monsters and evil spirits of the underworld, and Medusa's army soon began to surpass Palutena's army in strength. Soon, a war between Palutena and Medusa began. And yada yada yada, Palutena was captured, the 3 sacred treasures were taken, Pit is her last hope, and now you're playing the game trying to defeat hideous Medusa. Which, can I just say, Medusa got quite the glow up later on in the series. They even got the gods on Ozempic now, I guess. Look, I know it's probably just Palutena's curse wearing off. I'm trying to make a joke here, okay? Shut up. Anyway, as you may have noticed, the series does take inspiration from Greek mythology. It isn't set in the entire Greek mythos. Nintendo was just kind of picking and choosing certain characters and concepts while mixing in their own original ideas. But that was basically the original game. Ascend up to the Sky World, defeat the bosses, get the treasures, defeat Medusa, rescue Palutena, with some slight variations in the endings depending on your gameplay. Pit can go from being demoted to a farmer by Palutena, or her turning him into a full-grown angel and giving him a kiss. Good work, Pit. There apparently is a worse ending in the Japanese version of the game, where Pit is transformed into a speck nose, a pesky flying enemy in the game. I feel like you have to purposely play so bad to get this ending. But anyway, I think it's really cool that there are multiple endings to this game. It adds some replay value. So, Kid Icarus for the NES came out in 1987. How many more games do you think released from then till now? Well, seeing how this video even exists, the answer is not many. Two main installments have been released since the original in the 80s. I mean, there have been some remakes and ports of the NES game to newer consoles, but as far as actual new and original entries, only 2. Kid Icarus of Myths and Monsters, a follow-up game to the original, released in 1991 for the Game Boy. What's interesting is that this game was first released in North America in 1991, then for Europe in 1992, and it wasn't until 2012 for it to be released in Japan for the Virtual Console. This game has largely been disregarded as the official sequel to the original by Nintendo, probably because it took so long to be released in Japan. The most recent game in the series has taken the title as direct sequel to the NES game, and we'll get more into that in just a minute. But the gameplay in Of Myths and Monsters was largely the same as the original, now in monochrome Game Boy graphics. The story is that you were set out on another adventure by Palutena after she had a terrible vision of a demon attack on Angel Land, where you must find the 3 sacred treasures in the Underworld, Overworld, and Skyworld and use them to defeat the bad Orcos and save Palutena. Instead of growing big and strong and getting a kiss from Palutena, at the end of the game, Pit ascends high into the sky, getting closer to the very creepy sun. Why does the sun look like that? Where he then loses his wings and falls, reminding you of the namesake of this game. Thank you, Nintendo. I understood that reference. And that's everything you need to know about Of Myths and Monsters. It then took 21 years for a follow-up game to be released. The most recent installment in the Kid Icarus series is Kid Icarus Uprising, which was released in 2012 for the Nintendo 3DS. And this game was my formal introduction to the series, as it was for many others. The series was dormant for decades before Uprising was released, so it served as this hard reboot and reintroduction to the world of Kid Icarus. Instead of a 2D Metroid-like platformer, Kid Icarus Uprising is a fast-paced, third-person shoot-'em-up game. It features flying and grounded sections of combat in its levels, with the flying routes on autopilot so you could focus on shooting and dodging. The game has you use the 3DS stylus on the bottom screen to aim your reticle, move the camera, make quick maneuvers, and use special attacks and abilities. I should also mention that this game was developed by Project Sora, a first-party development studio formed by Nintendo and Sora Limited, which might sound familiar to any Smash Bros fans. That means that Mr. Smash Bro himself was involved with this game, and he most definitely was. Masahiro Sakurai of Sora Limited wrote and directed Kid Icarus Uprising. For anyone unaware, Masahiro Sakurai has been the creative mastermind behind the incredibly popular and successful Super Smash Bros. Series, which Kid Icarus has been a part of since 2008. He really helped breathe some much needed life back into the series, completely revamping it and creating a 3DS classic. I feel like if you had no idea Sakurai was involved before playing this game, by the end of it, you could have guessed he was. The UI design, the reward system, the scoring, the tongue-in-cheek humor, among many other little things, all feel very similar to other games he's directed and been involved in, like Smash Bros. And Kirby, for example. Like, you have the PNG food items lying on the ground, like in Smash Bros. This section looks like the background of a Final Destination stage in Smash Bros. And this particular section reminds me of the Race to the Finish minigame in Smash Melee. And of course, you get to shoot the credits by the end of this game, which is just a Sakurai staple at this point. With Sakurai at the helm, this game was in the right hands for a complete makeover. And can I just say, as someone who has played the game, this was one of my favorite 3DS games to play. I say was because I'm sadly no longer in possession of my 3DS or copy of Kid Icarus Uprising due to my dumbass trading them in at GameStop for approximately 3 nickels and a bag of chips. You know, I was young, stupid, and very short-sighted, so I guess I just couldn't even fathom how I would ever want to play on my 3DS again. It is certainly frustrating seeing as how these things will just go up in value. Just getting a copy of Kid Icarus Uprising now is no small purchase. I do hope whoever has my 3DS and Kid Icarus Uprising copy now is living their best life. You're welcome. Hey, maybe if this video does really well, I'll get another 3DS and a copy of the game, so please like and subscribe. But until then, I'll just hope for a remake of this game or something. Alright, little side rant over. Back to the game. The main story mode of the game is split into 25 chapters, with each one typically involving a flying combat section, a grounded combat section, and a boss battle. Like I said a moment ago, the flying sections have a preset path that controls itself, allowing the player to fully focus on dodging and shooting. The movement in the grounded sections is completely controllable by the player, which allows you to explore, open chests, find hidden rooms, obtain secret treasures, things like that. You can set the difficulty on an intensity slider before the start of each chapter, something that you see in the later Smash Bros. Games where Sakurai was also at the lead. Once in gameplay, you collect hearts by defeating enemies and looting the environment. Hearts are the basic currency in this game, and have been for the whole series. They allow you to buy items and weapons to help you along your journey through the campaign. There are 9 different weapon types to choose from, being blades, claws, palms, bows, staffs, orbiters, arms, clubs, and cannons. Each weapon type is capable of both ranged and melee combat, with some being more proficient in one damage type over the other. A really cool feature is the weapon fusion, where you can combine 2 weapons to create a new one that shares some of the attributes of the fused weapons. This helps to create stronger weapons and clean up your inventory because you will be collecting a lot of weapons in this game. You may also just convert whatever weapons you don't want into more hearts as well. Throughout your adventure, you will also be collecting special abilities for Pit, which range from a healing burst to inflicting status elements like poison, or going invisible, gaining a jump boost, you name it. You equip these abilities by filling the spaces on this square grid. Each ability has a different shape that you can rotate, with some taking more space than others. It is up to you to maximize the usage of the space on this grid by basically playing Tetris on it. Utilizing all of these mechanics are vital in completing the story, especially on the higher intensities, which do yield greater rewards. But what exactly is the story? Well, let's get into it. Also, spoilers for a game that came out nearly 13 years ago. So, this game takes place 25 years after the original NES game, which lines up with the actual time between releases. Medusa has been resurrected in what looks to be in her actual goddess form, and is leading a new invasion on Palutena and her domain. What's odd is that she doesn't exactly know how she got resurrected. It is up to Pit to weaken Medusa's forces by taking down her elite commanders, as well as once again finding the 3 sacred treasures, to which he will then face Medusa down in the underworld. Her commanders consist of Hydra, Pandora, and Thanatos. There are other bosses in Medusa's army like Twin Bellows and the Dark Lord that you will also need to defeat. This game also marks the introduction of Dark Pit, who was created by the Mirror of Truth, creating a corrupted copy of Pit. He doesn't serve Medusa though, he's kind of a lone wolf, sometimes helping you or sometimes attacking you. This time, Palutena is with Pit every step of the way, gifting him the power of flight and offering constant guidance and support. You see, Pit cannot fly on his own, so Palutena gives him the ability to fly for only 5 minutes, which is what makes up the flying sections in the game. Dark Pit can fly on his own though. Like Pit, he does need a god's assistance, but he works around this by absorbing Pandora's spirit into his wings after Pit defeats her. Throughout the game, you encounter enemies old and new, as well as make new friends with people and gods who will assist you in your war against the underworld forces. For example, Magnus, the human, with a big sword. He is a strong fighter that is able to keep up with these supernatural forces, and becomes friendly with Pit, and even helps him take down one of Medusa's commanders, because Medusa is the biggest threat in this game. Before I continue, I should say that the dialogue in this game is amazing. It makes the game. If you have not played it, it might sound annoying to have Pit, Palutena, and the other characters in your ear the whole time, but it genuinely adds so much to the gameplay. The conversations can keep you engaged while in the downtime between fights or while you're exploring, offer valuable tips, and most importantly, make you smile. The voice acting and delivery are great, and the writing is just top notch. The dialogue is never too serious, and if it is, it's typically supplemented with humor, sometimes bordering on dark humor, surprisingly. Most often, it is quite lighthearted and very on the nose with its comedy. The game and characters are very self-aware as well. They know they are in a game, and they often make comments to the fact that this is a game. They also sometimes just make references to other game franchises, like the fourth wall just doesn't even exist here. When they make callbacks to the original NES title, screenshots from the game pop up on the bottom screen, and the characters can make silly remarks like, "I remember this guy looking a lot more pixelated." It's just hard not to smile and laugh at stuff like that, especially with the voice acting being so great and the characters being so lovable. I guess Sakurai enjoyed making the dialogue so much that it's even in Smash Bros. If you play as Pit on the Palutena's temple stage with another character, and quickly press down on the D-pad, you'll activate a unique dialogue interaction with Pit and Palutena about the character you're facing. Other characters show up in the dialogue sometimes, and it's just also charming. I'll play a compilation of some of my favorite lines from Uprising and Smash towards the end of this video, but for now, back to the story. So, after Pit takes down Medusa's commanders and obtains the 3 sacred treasures after they were stolen by a bunch of space pirates, not sure why there are space pirates in this game, he's finally able to face Medusa and end this war once and for all. With the help of Palutena and equipped with the 3 sacred treasures, Pit dives down into the underworld, plowing through Medusa's defenses to reach her castle. He destroys her powerful gatekeeper with the help of Dark Pit, and enters the fortress. Once in the castle, Pit encounters abstract renditions of his fights with Pandora, Hydra, and Twin Bellows, reminding him of the long journey to get to this point. After he vanquishes them once more, all that's left is to face Medusa. After enduring many tough fights along the way, Pit finally makes it to Medusa, and the ultimate battle begins. And it is quite the spectacle, spanning multiple phases. In the midst of battle, Medusa, enraged and desperate, reveals her monstrous form once again. But alas, the goddess of darkness is just no match for the light. Pit destroys her, just like he did 25 years ago, and restores peace to the lands and heavens. Nice work, Pit. The end. But, hold on a second. I thought there were 25 chapters in this game. Why is the final battle only chapter 9? Maybe it was just a typo. Oh well.
Now wait just a second.
Huh? Did you hear something?
I said wait just a second.
You've got to be hearing things.
Hades?
Who's Hades?
The true master of the underworld.
Sorry to keep you waiting, but now that I'm here, let's get this party started. Welcome to my...
Yeah, so Hades is actually the big bad of this game. He was behind Medusa's resurrection and the entire underworld invasion. I mean, top 10 twists in gaming right there. Really though, this blew my mind playing this as a kid. Watching Hades interrupt the credits was jaw-dropping. He just literally comes out of nowhere, tears away the end screen, and steals the show. From this point on, the plot and events get cranked up to 11. So much starts happening all at once. So buckle in. Hades is a much more involved and charming villain than Medusa, constantly interjecting with snarky, flirtatious comments that annoy the rest of the characters. He tricks the humans in the overworld to go to war with each other, leveraging their greed, so that he can farm their souls for his underworld army. While this war among humans is happening, a huge bomb crashes onto the battlefield and nukes everything. It leaves behind a gigantic, branch-like mass that Pit must traverse through. This is called a reset bomb, and it was specially designed to kill humans by the goddess of nature, Viridi. She's a childlike, sort of antagonistic god, hellbent on eradicating humans as she feels they are a threat to the planet. She does warm up to Pit and Palutena as the story goes on, however, and she will play a key role in the plot from here. So, on top of Hades, Pit now must deal with Viridi by destroying her reset bomb factory as well as her commanders, Kragalanch, Arlon, and Phosphora. Her and Hades aren't friends though, and their forces battle each other as well, making for some very chaotic combat encounters and interactions. After taking out Viridi's forces of nature, aliens have begun to invade and harvest the Earth. Yeah, there's a lot going on in this game, I know, just try to keep up with me here. They are called the Aurum, and they are a very technologically advanced alien hive mind. For a short while, Palutena, Hades, and Viridi joined forces to take down the Aurum alien threat. Pit is also joined by the sun god, Pyrrhon, who helps Pit take down the central brain of the Aurum, because he is a good, brave hero, and he's actually a bad guy that takes control of the brain and the entire hive mind. Fantastic. Well, the brain actually ends up taking control of him. Either way, Pit defeats Aurum Pyrrhon, and after he comes back to his senses, he drives away the alien threat from Earth. Now, the focus goes back on defeating Hades, is what I would say if it weren't for what happens in the next chapter. So, it starts out all black. Pit wakes up with his consciousness trapped inside a ring near a destroyed human town. The last thing he remembers is stopping the Aurum invasion. How strange. A little girl finds the ring and puts it on, giving Pit control of her body. Confused, Pit, in control of the girl's body, approaches the burning town trying to help any way he can. He trips over, and the ring falls off the girl's finger. That was probably for the best. Pit was putting this girl in serious danger. Shame on you, Pit. But it's okay because a dog picks up the ring, giving Pit access to the dog's body now. Approaching the town, Pit notices Palutena's Centurion forces, as well as himself. They're attacking the town. Now he is really confused. Pit encounters Magnus fighting off the Centurions. As the dog, Pit gives Magnus the ring, hoping he will put it on. Luckily he does, granting access to Magnus's body. He's also able to talk to Magnus now. If you don't remember, Magnus is like Pit's human friend that he made in Chapter 2 of this game. Apparently, 3 years have passed. Palutena and her army vanished and have returned, attacking humanity, but still in conflict with the underworld. Fighting as Magnus, Pit is able to defeat his soulless body and regain control of it. He pleads for Palutena to send him back to Skyworld, but Viridi answers the call instead, granting him the power of flight. She brings him to a ruined Skyworld, where they encounter Palutena on the offense. Something seems off with her. She has become cold and callous, and has seemingly given up on humanity. She is guarded by a huge force field protecting the temple, preventing Pit from approaching her. Viridi sends Pit to retrieve the lightning chariot to pierce the force field. It is a legendary galactic chariot pulled by 2 unicorns. After battling the old chariot master in his tower and earning the chariot from him, Pit rides it back to the temple at breakneck speed. After breaching the temple, Verity explains to Pit that 3 years ago, when he stormed one of her fortresses, he unknowingly freed a being known as the Chaoskin, who was imprisoned there. The Chaoskin can capture and control souls, which is likely the reason why Palutena has turned cold and brutal, and why Pit was trapped in the ring. Pit makes it to Palutena, where it is clear that the Chaoskin has control of her. Pit is able to defeat it without hurting Palutena's body too much. However, the Chaoskin takes her essence out of her body, turning her into a lifeless statue, and escapes into the Chaos Realm. The realm tear to the Chaos Vortex begins to close, and Pit is unable to follow the Chaoskin through. But then, Dark Pit comes in charging on the lightning chariot and pierces through the tear, allowing them to travel through. Pit endures the difficult and equally trippy Chaos Vortex. He fights through waves and waves of familiar foes. Dark Pit eventually joins him, and with the help of Verity, they are able to defeat the Chaoskin and restore Palutena's spirit. However, in a last-ditch effort, the Chaoskin snags Dark Pit and drags him down into the vortex. Pit, who has just burned through his power of flight, begs Verity to grant it to him once more, knowing the risk of burning himself up. Though she resists at first, the situation is dire, and she allows Pit to fly again. He catches Dark Pit and brings him back to safety, but he now lies scorched and unconscious. Palutena, now back in control of herself, embraces Pit's burned body and gets emotional over his selfless sacrifice. And now you play as Dark Pit. Guys, this game is freaking crazy. I am trying my best to briefly summarize everything going on here for time's sake, but so many things happen one after another once Hades shows up in Chapter 9, it's insane. Sakurai, you're a madman. It's okay though, we're nearing the end, just a little bit longer guys. So, now you control Dark Pit, and are helping Palutena in reviving Pit by invading the underworld, finding the rewind spring, and dipping Pit's body into it, which will bring him back to his state prior to being burned up. Before he can do that, Pandora, still alive in Dark Pit's wings, jumps out and enters the spring, regaining her body. And, well, it looks better than her spirit blob form. A boss fight ensues, Dark Pit defeats her, Pit gets revived, yay, end of chapter. Dark Pit can no longer fly on his own now, since it was Pandora's powers allowing him to do so in the first place. So, Verity helps him out with that. With his body repaired and equipped with the 3 sacred treasures yet again, Pit ventures into the underworld to defeat Hades. Sounds like a good plan, right? Well, actually, Hades decides to blow away and destroy the 3 sacred treasures and swallow Pit instead. He now has to fight his way out of Hades' body, going through waves of cell-like enemies, and eventually making it to his heart, which is a boss fight. Pit destroys his heart and is picked up by Dark Pit on the lightning chariot. The penultimate chapter sees Pit venturing to Lord Dintos' domain. Dintos is the god of the forge, and he is the one who created the 3 sacred treasures. Palutena has sought him out to make Pit a new powerful weapon. But first, Pit has to prove himself to Dintos by completing his trials, which are basically one big boss rush. Dintos creates renditions of enemies and bosses Pit has faced before, and he also invites others like Magnus and, Pseudo-Palutena to fight Pit as well. The last trial is a boss fight against the new weapon itself, an all-powerful mech suit. Pit is victorious and is given the suit by Dintos. Now, nothing stands in the way between him and Hades. Time for the final battle. Pit deploys from the Sky World in his new Great Sacred Treasure mech suit as Hades erupts from the underworld. It is a long and arduous battle. Hades can't seem to be killed, but the Great Sacred Treasure matches him by taking on new forms. After a while of battling, Hades takes off with Pit hot on his tail. Just as Hades thinks he's got Pit crushed in his grip, the mech suit breaks free and Pit slices Hades in half with a swift swing of an energy sword. Though, it is not too much of a bother for Hades, as he regenerates his lower half. Now he's really ticked off. He catches Pit, smashing him in between his gargantuan hands. The Great Sacred Treasure falls apart, and Pit plummets to the ground. Right before Hades unleashes the fatal blow, Medusa, tired of being constantly put down and revived by Hades, interrupts him during the attack. However, her efforts were short-lived, as Hades makes quick work of her. But it allowed Pit just enough time to recover himself and grab the cannon from the Great Sacred Treasure. Now, with Verity helping him to fly, Pit faces down Hades in his ultimate form. As Pit dodges Hades' onslaught of lasers, Palutena charges up the cannon with all her energy. Pit just needs to hold on long enough for it to be finished. After narrowly avoiding Hades' attacks, the weapon is fully charged. Pit fires it at Hades and unleashes an earth-shattering beam. He tries to resist, but it is too much even for a god to handle. Hades gets incinerated, and the world is saved. Pit celebrates his win and flies around happily in the sky as the cheers of the townspeople down below signal a hard-fought victory. The light has triumphed over the dark once again. The end. Wow, that was incredible, guys. I really wanted to go over most of the plot points and events in this game because I really do think it has one of the most fun and engaging stories I've ever had the privilege to experience in any game. Me trying to squish it all in this video does not do it any justice. You need to experience these characters and the gameplay for yourself. If you can, play the game, though that is quite difficult if you don't already own it or a 3DS. The next best thing would be to go watch a full playthrough of it here on YouTube. I'll link one in the description. I should also mention this game featured a multiplayer mode where you can do team fights and free-for-alls against other players. I really just wanted to go over the story and core gameplay of the game, which is why I didn't really talk about the multiplayer, but I'm mentioning it now. I've had the idea of this video in the back of my mind for a while now, and I am so happy that I am finally executing on it. I would love to be able to play this game again, but I can't, so I'm reliving it by making this video. Kid Icarus Uprising was the revival this game franchise needed, and I'd hate to see the series end with it. It's been nearly 13 years since this game's release, with no word of any new installments in development. I mean, I would be more than happy getting a remake of Kid Icarus Uprising for Switch, or whatever Nintendo's next console is. It does not deserve to be left behind, but I'm not sure the demand is big enough. Though, Sakurai seems very fond of Kid Icarus, seeing how much love he poured into making Uprising and how many elements from it made their way into Smash Bros. So maybe he has some leverage to convince Nintendo to greenlight a new Kid Icarus project? That's probably just me huffing the copium again, but just let me live in my delusion, please. I'm going to end this video now with a compilation of some of my favorite dialogue in Uprising and Smash. If I put all the voice lines I wanted, this video would be like an hour long, so believe me when I say that there is a lot more where that came from. Anyway, please like the video if you enjoyed it, and do consider subscribing, it would mean a lot to me. Comment down below your experience with the Kid Icarus game series, or just anything in general, I'd love to hear your thoughts. But thank you guys so much for watching, I hope to see you soon, and please enjoy this funny dialogue compilation.
From the heavens, I can see through your laurel crown to divine your surroundings.
Really? That's amazing!
And that's not all I can see, Pit. I can also see what's in your heart.
Oh! That's really something.
You'd better not be thinking about anything naughty.
What? How did you...
Just kidding. Seriously? Reading hearts through laurel crowns?
I know. I was also kidding.
No, I'm too pretty to die!
Even though I almost died, I've really enjoyed our time together.
Aw, you poor guy. You really need to make some friends. You made it. Yay.
Pandora! Underling of Medusa floating before me! It's time for you to atone for your crimes! I am Pit, servant of the Goddess of Light! And you are Mystery!
What was that all about? We only have a little way to go, so buckle down.
I'm buckled and ready.
Yoo-hoo! Can you hear me? I'd like to be part of this conversation, please.
Shut it already!
Me? But you've been talking this whole game!
You know, I'm very much looking forward to your arrival. I feel like Rapunzel waiting for her prince.
Sorry to break it to you, but those aren't exactly golden locks on your head.
And you're not exactly a brave hero.
See this poor child? Both of her parents are dead. Oh, there was an unfortunate accident. If you think like me.
You mean you murdered them?
It was a simple case of distracted chariot driving. Should have been doing my hair. Anyway.
Cragalanche, huh? What are you, a monster truck?
Pit, huh? What are you? A hole in the ground?
If you'll excuse me, I must go gird my loins for your night.
TMI! Nobody wants to hear about your loins.
Thanatos is a special case.
telling me.
He is the god of death, after all. So he gets perks like evil powers, health insurance, and free soda.
Hey, look! An exotank!
Hey, look! Who cares?
Are you a buzzard, Pit?
Now, I think we can all agree that Pit's not a buzzard. Though I have seen him eat some questionable things on the ground.
More ice cream gives you help!
By invading our land, the Arum have declared war on all of us. And with Chiron on their side, they've become even more powerful. If we don't defeat them today, we may not have it tomorrow.
Ever get tired of being such a nerd? All you need are 20-sided dice and some thick glasses.
So... Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
You know that saying that there are no bad questions? Well, there are. And this is one of them. We are not there yet! Stay away from the Orn and keep taking out the Komatos.
You know, Komato's look an awful lot like little Metroids.
No! Stop right there!
What's the matter? All I said was that Komato's look like little Metro...
I can't hear you!
Hey, what's your problem?
This game universe and that game universe have nothing to do with each other. So don't go around spreading rumors.
Hello again. Pit.
Hades.
Pit.
Hades.
Pit.
Hades!
Yes.
Hades. Excuse you. But anyway,
Oh, look! There's Metroid.
that's not a Metroid. That's Samus.
Just like Link isn't named Zelda.
And like Pit's name isn't Icarus.
Okay, this joke has officially run its course.
Like I said, he's quick on his feet, so there's no telling when he'll suddenly rush in and grab you. You've got to watch your back constantly when Fox is around.
Do a barrel roll! I'm picking up on some weird kind of energy here.
What you feel is Ness's PSI.
What's PSI?
It's a general term for supernatural abilities.
Supernatural? Isn't that pretty unscientific?
Said the angel to the goddess.
He's also very light, so focus on launching Sheik at lower damage percentages.
And he doesn't have much reach, so keep your distance until you're ready to rush him with your upper dash arm.
Good advice. But you guys do know Sheik is just Zelda, right? In disguise? Wait! Is there a new timeline? 2 of them? That's cheating!
Say hello to the Ice Climbers. They haven't always had the best cooperation, but their teamwork seems pretty solid now.
Okay, sure. But what about the fact that there were 2 of them? Didn't they get kicked out of Smash for illegal teaming?
Well, they're back now, so I'm pretty sure it's allowed. I mean, you could pair up with Dark Pit if you wanted to.
Never! You think Pokemon get claustrophobic being trapped in those little balls?
I hear Pokeballs are much bigger on the inside.
But what about the weak Pokemon who get left in their balls and forgotten? I mean, everyone has like hundreds of them in their box.
Huh. I never thought about... Oh, Pika-Pit! No!
Now, Pit, I'm sure those abandoned Pokemon are all playing together at a farm upstate.
If he's so shy, why is he fighting?
He's been through a lot. Things you couldn't imagine. Maybe fighting is how he copes with his feelings.
Oh, man. Now I feel bad for him.
Me too. Maybe you shouldn't fight him.
Show no mercy! Launch this crybaby to the stars!
Walk 'em, walk 'em, walk 'em, walk 'em, walk 'em.
Angels can take many forms, just as goddesses can. Take Palutena, for instance. Her current appearance is something humans can comprehend, but it's not her true form.
You're one to talk, Veridi.
Fighting tips, please?
Ugh. If you get caught in one of her combos, just, like, wiggle around or something.
This curious life form is an Inkling. They're squids who evolved to shapeshift into human form.
Inklings rose to power 12,000 years after mammals went extinct.
Extinct?
Yep, the monkeys were eradicated. Booyah!
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Wait a second. If I'm fighting against an Inkling, then what year is it right now?
Don't think about it too hard, Pit. It'll just make your brain sweat.
12,000 years of missed meals?